Have you ever felt like you are carrying the weight of a world constantly spinning out of control? We wake up every morning and step into a relentless storm. Your phone lights up with a notification, and instantly, your heart drops. A sudden shift in the economy threatens the livelihood you have spent decades building. A person you trusted implicitly decides to walk away, leaving you standing in the ruins of a future you had already painted. We are drowning in anxiety, perpetually bracing for the next disaster or heartbreak. How is it possible to find tranquility when the ground beneath our feet is so fragile? We desperately try to control our surroundings, micromanaging our careers and relationships, hoping that if we just grip the steering wheel tight enough, we can avoid the crashes. But the crashes still happen. The pain still arrives. 2,000 years ago, a man walked this earth who understood this profound human agony better than anyone. He did not offer gentle, sugar-coated platitudes or promise that the universe would magically align to grant your wishes. Instead, he offered a radical, almost surgical approach to the human mind. His name was Epictetus. His philosophy, Stoicism, is not a mere academic theory to be debated in dusty libraries. It is a lifeline. It is a brutal, beautiful awakening that demands we strip away our illusions and confront the absolute truth of our existence. If you are exhausted from being a hostage to your circumstances, if you are ready to stop bleeding over things you cannot control, then listen closely. The path to an unshakable, fortress-like inner peace is entirely within your grasp. But to claim it, you must be willing to change everything about how you see the world. To truly understand the gravity of what Epictetus is asking of us, you must first understand the crucible in which his mind was forged. Epictetus was not born into privilege. He was born into chains. Around the year 50 AD, in what is now modern-day Turkey, he entered the world as a slave. His very body was the legal property of another human being, subjected to the absolute arbitrary whims of his masters. Historical accounts suggest he endured severe physical abuse, leaving him with a crippled leg that he would drag for the rest of his life. By all conventional metrics, his life was a tragedy. He had every justification to be consumed by bitterness, to curse the gods, and to drown in the sheer injustice of his reality. Yet, within the confines of his enslavement, Epictetus discovered a profound, untouchable sanctuary. He realized that while his master could chain his leg, beat his body, and dictate his physical movements, no one could chain his mind. He began to study philosophy, eventually earning his freedom and becoming one of the most influential teachers in Rome. When the Emperor Domitian banished all philosophers from the city, Epictetus simply packed his meager belongings and walked away. He relocated to Nicopolis and founded a school that drew the greatest minds of his era. He did not write down his own teachings, he lived them. He embodied the ultimate truth that freedom is not a physical state, but a psychological one. He became a master of his own soul, proving that the deepest liberation comes not from changing our external circumstances, but from conquering our internal landscape. And so, where does our pain actually come from? If you ask most people, they will point to the event itself. They will say, "I am devastated because my partner left me," or "I am furious because a stranger left a toxic comment on my post." But Epictetus shatters this illusion. He teaches us that it is never the external event that hurts us. The event is entirely neutral. What tortures us, what keeps us awake at night staring at the ceiling, is our judgment about the event. The root of all our psychological suffering lies in two powerful, invisible forces: desire and aversion. Let us look at the modern battlefield of the internet. Imagine you post something deeply personal online, and someone responds with a vicious, mocking comment. Instantly, your chest tightens. Your face flushes with anger and shame. You feel attacked. But what has actually happened? A stranger, miles away, pressed their fingers against a piece of glass and transmitted a sequence of digital pixels to a server. Those pixels formed words on your screen. That is the objective reality. The agony you feel is entirely generated by your own mind. It is born from your deep-seated desire to be universally liked and your intense aversion to criticism. You have attached a massive, heavy value judgment to those pixels, deciding that they mean you are unworthy or that the world is cruel. Or consider a much deeper wound, the end of a long-term relationship. When someone you love walks away, the grief feels like a physical crushing of the chest. But Epictetus would ask you to examine the source of that grief. The unbearable suffering comes from your judgment. It comes from the story you tell yourself. I cannot live without them, or I will never find love again. It is your desperate desire for them to stay and your terrifying aversion to being alone that creates the agony. We project our fears and rigid expectations onto the neutral canvas of reality. We demand that the universe conform to our specific wishes, and when it refuses, we bleed. We are not victims of the world. We are victims of our own perceptions. Until we recognize that our judgments are the true architects of our misery, we will remain trapped in an endless cycle of emotional reactivity. This brings us to the most dangerous trap of the human condition, the illusion of control. We spend our entire lives building elaborate fortresses out of things we do not actually own. We tie our deepest sense of identity, our happiness, and our inner peace to external variables that are entirely outside of our jurisdiction. Epictetus warned us that whenever we attach our desires to things we cannot control, we are voluntarily handing over our freedom. We are making ourselves slaves to fate. Think about the pursuit of career success. You pour your absolute soul into a company. You work late nights, sacrifice weekends, and tie your entire self-worth to your job title. But then, a boardroom of executives you have never met decides to restructure. In a single 15-minute video call, your position is eliminated. You lose your job. If your happiness was tethered to that corporate identity, you are not just unemployed. You are psychologically annihilated. You fall into a dark abyss of worthlessness because you placed your peace in the hands of a fickle, unpredictable economy and the whims of corporate managers. The same applies to unexpected financial loss. You invest your savings, plan for the future, and suddenly, a global market crash wipes out half of your portfolio. If your sense of safety was built on the numbers in your bank account, you will be consumed by panic and despair. Epictetus calls these external things wealth, reputation, the opinions of others, and even our physical health. Fickle, weak, and slavish. They are on loan from the universe, and the universe can recall its loan at any given second, without warning and without apology. When we desperately desire things to go our way, we are playing a game we are mathematically guaranteed to lose. We are trying to dictate the script of a play we did not write. It is a terrifyingly fragile way to live. You are essentially walking a tightrope in a hurricane, hoping the wind decides not to blow. True Stoic wisdom requires a brutal, honest audit of our attachments. We must look at our careers, our bank accounts, our social standing, and even the people we love, and recognize that while we can care for them and cherish them, we do not control them. To demand that they remain permanent is to fight a war against the fundamental nature of reality itself, and reality remains undefeated. So, if we cannot control the world, and if our desires for specific outcomes only lead to suffering, what is the solution? How do we actually find peace when the storm hits? Epictetus offers a solution that is as simple as it is profoundly difficult. It is the ultimate lesson of radical acceptance. But this is not the weak, passive acceptance of a defeated victim. It is a powerful, active realignment of your very soul. Epictetus tells us, do not demand that things happen as you wish, but wish that they happen as they do happen, and you will go on well. Read that again in your mind. Wish that they happen as they do. This is the secret to invincibility. When you lose your job, instead of screaming at the injustice, You accept it as the necessary next chapter of your existence. When a relationship shatters, instead of drowning in the bitter poison of what could have been, you embrace the reality of what is. You stop fighting the current of the river and learn to float upon it. You realize that the universe is vast, complex, and operating on a logic far beyond your individual comprehension. By aligning your will with the natural unfolding of events, you instantly eliminate all friction. You drop the heavy, exhausting armor of resistance. You are no longer a fragile glass vase waiting to be shattered by a careless hand. You become the water that simply flows around whatever obstacle is placed in its path. This does not mean you do not take action to improve your life. You still apply for new jobs, you still set boundaries, you still strive for excellence, but you do it with a calm, detached grace, knowing that your true peace is entirely independent of the outcome. This shift in perspective is the ultimate superpower. It transforms every adversity into an opportunity to practice virtue. The toxic comment becomes a chance to practice emotional resilience. The financial loss becomes a lesson in non-attachment. The broken heart becomes a profound teacher of impermanence. You reclaim your power from the external chaos and build an inner citadel that nothing can breach. This journey is not easy. It requires daily relentless practice. It demands that you catch yourself every time you start to complain, every time you feel a surge of anger, and gently remind yourself, this is outside my control. My peace is within. But the reward for this discipline is a life of profound, unshakable tranquility. It is the freedom that Epictetus found in chains, available to you right now, in this very moment. If this message resonated with you, if it sparked a shift in how you view your own struggles, I invite you to join our community. Please subscribe to the channel, leave a like on this video, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Tell me, what is one external thing you're going to stop letting control your inner peace today? Thank you for watching, and remember, the world may be chaotic, but your mind belongs entirely to you.